Gordon, Donald Trump laid out his vision for America and the Trump administration in his acceptance speech at the Republican convention last night. He talked about the problems he sees with the country and how he plans to solve them. We have two reports from our CBN News team in Cleveland, beginning with Abigail Robertson.
I humbly and gratefully accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States.
Donald Trump accepted the Republican nomination for president in an address that broke the record for the longest convention acceptance speech.
For months, Donald Trump has said he will make America great again, and in his highly important acceptance speech, he began to lay out his plan for how exactly he will accomplish that.
We are going to defeat the barbarians of ISIS, and we're going to defeat them fast. We are going to appoint justices of the United States Supreme Court who will uphold our laws and our Constitution.
Trump also acknowledged the evangelical community for helping him secure the nomination.
I would like to thank the evangelical and religious community, because I'll tell you what, the support that they've given me, and I'm not sure I totally deserve it, has been so amazing.
The nominee received huge applause throughout the night as he again said he will be the law and order candidate.
An attack on law enforcement is an attack on all Americans.
But Trump was not the only star. His daughter Ivanka introduced him in a speech aimed at winning over some of his toughest critics, women and millennials.
At my father's company, there are more female than male executives. Women are paid equally for the work that we do. Like many of my fellow millennials, I do not consider myself categorically Republican or Democrat. More than party affiliation, I vote based on what I believe is right for my family and for my country. Sometimes it's a tough choice. That is not the case this time.
The night ended with Trump driving home the theme of his campaign, making America great again.
It is time to show the whole world that America is back, bigger and better and stronger than ever before.
What a week it's been here in Cleveland. Now we send it over to David Brody and John Jessup for some analysis and final thoughts.
Thanks, Abby. Well, John Jessup here with David Brody, CBN's chief political correspondent. We decided to stick around in Cleveland for a little post-convention coverage. By now, we have all seen it. Donald Trump was the main act, the final act here at the Republican National Convention. His main goal was to show a united front of the Republican Party and to present himself as presidential. David, did he accomplish those goals?
I think he did. He had the whole time. No booze, which is always a good thing. It was a serious speech. Some critics are saying it was an angry speech, but you know what? Look, this guy is a serious, strong guy who is frustrated with what he sees in America right now. You know, I know they being the critics, wanted a shining, sitting on a hill Ronald Reagan speech, but the reality is Trump sees this as a cloudy city on a burning hill right now in America. And I think he's painting this picture and he's tapping into what voters are frustrated about. And I think it worked. I will say this, one part in the speech I thought was very interesting is that there were a lot of chants of folks here, the delegates saying, lock her up, talking about Hillary Clinton.
Right.
And instead of going with the chorus, instead he rose above it and said, hey, let's defeat her
in November.
Big moment for Donald Trump.
Right. There was a moment where he seemed to show a little humility. That's something that we don't often see from Donald Trump. When he thanked publicly evangelicals and religious voters, and he even acknowledged maybe I don't deserve those votes that got him to be the nominee.
I thought that was a really interesting, if you want to call it, tender moment, where he basically went out, like you said, thanked the evangelicals, and then when he talked about this idea that look, maybe I don't really deserve it, it was such an honest moment for him, you know, because everybody knows, everybody's thinking exactly that, and he was able to kind of relate to it. And he talked about the Johnson Amendment too, you know, this idea about churches being under persecution from the IRS, and he wants to repeal that. So I thought that was a big moment for him, for evangelicals, and it was a nice shout out and well deserved.
We've got less than a minute left. Where do we go from here?
It's going to be a long, hot general election. I mean, but first up, we go obviously to the Democrat convention next week, and there's going to be in Philadelphia. We'll be there. A lot of Donald Trump bashing. So, how will the media, how will the Democrats kind of, if you will, team together to a degree to really give Donald Trump a run through the ringer? It's going to be pretty nasty for him. So, if he can survive that, then we're on to the general election. The debates are the big one coming up in September. Boy, those are going to be electric, John.
Electric it is. Thank you, David, for all your time and your analysis.
Thanks,
be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or 24/7 at cbnnews.com.
Thanks, guys. Republicans took a strong position on standing with Israel in this year's party platform. One reason for that is the growing number of Christians who are supporting the Jewish state. Millions have joined Christians United for Israel, and the group met this week in Washington. Chris Mitchell brings us that story.
Christians United for Israel, or CUFI, has grown to more than 3 million members. Founder Pastor John Hagee started out 11 years ago to teach Christians about the biblical mandate to stand with Israel.
Because every evangelical has a biblical basis for supporting the state of Israel. Supporting Israel is not a political issue, it's a Bible issue.
CUFI is having an impact on presidential politics. One network credits the group with influencing Republicans to adopt the most pro-Israel platform in U.S. history.
So because of Christians United for Israel, which was specifically named in the article, the Republican Party said, we're going to have a plank that says, Jerusalem shall be an undivided city in the future.
Even with that political victory, Middle East experts like Colonel Oliver North believe Israel is under more threat than ever.
Now, the Iranians and the North Koreans are building nuclear weapons and the means of delivering them that have Israel as the nearest target and us ultimately as the great Satan target. So it's different than the threat has ever been before. So CUFI, Christians United for Israel, can make all the difference in the world in terms of educating people about the real threat and what we ought to do about it. Simple as that.
CUFI believes a big part of standing with Israel is what's happening on college campuses today. Behind me is something you might see in a college campus. It's an apartheid wall. It vilifies Israel's security barrier. So CUFI has enlisted hundreds of students around the country to present the truth about Israel. They call it the battle for the future.
We're fighting for the future of Israel. We're fighting for the future of America.
CUFI Representative Maria Lilly says pro-Palestinian groups often try and shut down pro-Israel speech on college campuses.
We're in for a battle. On so many college campuses around the country and even around the world, students face so much anti-Semitism and backlash for their support of Israel.
Pastor Hagee feels it's crucial for the U.S. to stand with Israel.
The Bible verse, I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you, is the promise of God, and God keeps his promises.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Washington.